warm welcome to Disky Talk with Liolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Dstv Premiership action as I have a pre-match analysis of Kaizer Chiefs versus Amazulu. So when you do have a look at it then, the red team will represent Kaizer Chiefs and then the blue team will represent Amazulu. So coming up then into this encounter then, what's key to note then and what's very interesting is that both sides then do line up then with a 4-3-3. Both sides then also then do look to build up from deep and also then do look to press and pick their moments with regards to ensuring that they're able to unsettle opposition from a smooth and seamless build-up. However, let's have a look at Kaizer Chiefs then from the personnel perspective. So in goals, the last time out in the MTN8, they did start with Kune. So we did see that he did have a good performance and also then was able then to ensure that he saved 2 penalties, which then saw Kaizer Chiefs then advance to the semi-finals. So it's going to be very interesting then to see if Kune does start again. But my guess is he will probably keep the gloves. Moving on then right along. At left back, they did start with Hlanti. When you do have a look at Hlanti against Stellenbosch, I think he had quite the good performance in this left back role, especially then with regards to his fitness levels as well, considering that he had been out for a very long time. So Hlanti then was able then to offer that balance on the left-hand side for this Kaizer Chiefs side, especially then when you have a look at the fact that Reeve Frosler had been playing as the left back, as a right-footed player. So with Hlanti then, he did give you then that natural ball progression on the left-hand side with regards to opening up and also then that natural ball circulation because he is left-footed and he would look to open up onto his left foot. Also key then with regards to offering width for this Kaizer Chiefs side whenever then the opportunity does open up for him then to overlap. And then when you do move on then right along, you have Zita Kuniga as the left back, as the left-sided centre-back. As the right-sided centre-back, you do then also have Ungobo. And then at right-back, they did start with Solomons. When you move on then, right along, the last time out, they started with Usitebe playing as the defensive midfielder within that role. And then they started with Keegan Dolly and Matro as the 2-8s. However, we do know that Yusuf March will be returning as he has served his suspension. And I do think that he walks back into the lineup within the heart of midfield, especially considering then how Kaizer Chiefs have been struggling with regards to progressing the ball within the heart of midfield, with regards then to imposing themselves against opposition, and also then having a very dominant figure within the heart of midfield. However, when you do have a look at Kaizer Chiefs, one of their biggest problems within the heart of midfield has come from the fact that they don't have a defensive midfielder. So I'm going to touch on the importance of having a defensive midfielder. So in other terms and in other parts of the world, that is a 6. It's a defensive midfielder. It is a CDM as well. So essentially, though, it is a central defensive midfielder. So when you look at a central defensive midfielder, they are actually one of the most important players within a team because then they form part and parcel of the spine of a team. And what they do offer you then without the ball, that is from a defensive perspective. They offer you then that tactical awareness within the heart of midfield, being able then to offer the team shape as well. Because when you do play then with 2-8s, what tends to happen is that they tend to become a lot more advanced. And if you don't have a defensive midfielder, what tends to happen is that you tend to become very open within the heart of midfield, thus leaving the team very open and not having then sufficient cover within the heart of midfield. Also then, when you look at the fact that this is a player then who should carry great awareness with regards to being able then to cover for his teammates. So sometimes what would happen is if the fullback is maybe dragged out of position or is beaten, when the centre back does look to go to the left-hand side, what he tends to do then is to drop into that pocket of space and fill in as a centre back. They're also then very key with regards to sniffing out the danger, being able to break down opposition attacks, and just offering then that solidity and that tactical awareness within the heart of midfield. And when you do also then have a look at them, At times, instead of the centre back going, sometimes they can sniff the danger a lot earlier than the centre back, and then they can drift wide and be able then to break down opposition play. So these players then are very, very key then to a football team. And I think with Kaizer Chiefs then going without a defensive midfielder, I think that has been one of their biggest problems, because we do know that they do have Sitebe, they do have Mart, they do have Matlo within the heart of midfield, they do have Cole. But the problem is that they've not played with a designated sitter within the heart of midfield as a defensive midfielder who will look then to occupy that pocket of space in front of the back two and in front of the two centre backs, and also then in front of the back four, where then he's able to protect his defense. And then from a ball possession perspective, what they offer you then is being able then to drop in between the two centre backs to pick the ball up within that deep pocket of space, and then being able to play. Some are not as comfortable on the ball. Some are more for defensive purposes. But most that we see in modern day football do tick both boxes with regards to being able to drop in between and form a three sometimes, with regards to looking to build up and being able then to take the ball within the heart of midfield deep, and being able then to play those diagonal passes if they need to play those diagonal passes. Sorry, that's the ball. And also then play those short penetrative passes within the heart of midfield, where then they're looking for their more creative players. So it has been the biggest thing that Kaizer Chiefs have struggled with is that they don't have a designated defensive midfielder, which then also adds then to their rest defense, because then we do know that they're looking to play a very expansive brand of football. So when you do have all those numbers pushed up, it is very key then that you've got a designated sitter within the heart of midfield who looks to sit and protect his back line. So when you move on then and have a look at the possibilities. So I do think that Yusuf Mart comes back into it, and then you will have Keegan Dolly, and then you will have Sitebe. I do foresee Coach Arthur Zwane going with this midfield three. So you have Yusuf Mart at the base, you have Keegan Dolly, and then you would have Sitebe. And then when you move on then right along and have a look then at the front three. So the last time out, he did start with Sikhota off the left-hand side. Up front, started with Billiat, and then off the right-hand side, started with Dupria. So when you do have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side then, with regards to how they look to go about things, with regards to the offensive scheme, what you do see then is that ball side fullback would be pushed within that wide pocket of space, and then you would see sort of that shape. So you'd see somewhat of a 3-3-4 with regards to the offensive scheme, where then the far side fullback would be looking to tuck in and make it three at the back. At times, you will have one of the midfielders looking to join and adding numbers. Then you'd see somewhat of a 3-2-5. However, when you do have a look at some of the key players then for this Kaizer Chiefs side, so when you do have a look at Dupria. We do know that Dupria is back. He did manage to score the goal then against Stellenbosch, where he pressed really well. This is a player then who is very key for Kaizer Chiefs, especially considering that they've been struggling up front with regards to getting the goals and with creativity as well. When you do have a look at Dupria, this is a player then who is well and able with regards to scoring goals, and also then adding then to the creative aspect with regards then to his technical ability, because this is a player then who also has very good technical ability. And then when you do have a look at it, you do have Sikhota. This is a player then who has been having good performances for this Kaizer Chiefs side, even though they've had a very bad run within the past couple of games where they haven't been imposing themselves. But Sikhota has been one of those players then who have offered a lot of skill, a lot of speed, and a lot of creativity for this Kaizer Chiefs side. However, we do know that this Kaizer Chiefs side also do look to institute a high press. What would that look like? So with Kaizer Chiefs then, when they are looking to press, it does become a very narrow 4-3-3, where then, for example, if the opposition centre-back had the ball there, you would see something like that, where they are then, they'll just shift across. You'd see something like that. So that is what you would see then with regards to how Kaizer Chiefs would be looking to press. They'd press with a very narrow 4-3-3. At times, what you do see then, one from midfield can look to join Billiat, and then it becomes a very narrow 4-4-2 block with regards to how they'd be looking to institute the press. So without the ball then, when you do have a look at Kaizer Chiefs, it also then becomes a 4-3-3 as well. So that is what then Kaizer Chiefs would look like without the ball. They'd go to this 4-3-3 block. At times, it can look somewhat of a 4-5-1. If you look at it from that perspective. A key player then coming up into this encounter will be Dupree with regards then to being able then to ensure that he can then get onto the end of those chances which are created for Kaizer Chiefs, and also then when he's looking then to create those chances within the wide areas. We do know that he can come off the right hand side, he can come off the left hand side, and he's very quick as well. Moving on then right along, let's have a look at Amazulu. So when you have a look at Amazulu then, they've started really well within the Dstv Premiership, as they do find themselves in third place currently, and they also then managed to advance to the semi-finals of the MTN 8. So when you have a look at it then, in goals, they do have Uveli Mota, who is then one of their leaders and one of their key players for this Amazulu side. As a right-sided centre-back, you do have Ukumede. And then as the right-back, you do have Temelas Kakane. As the left-sided centre-back, you do have Abubakar Mubara. So when you look at Abubakar Mubara, this is a centre-back who is quite key then with regards to how Amazulu look to build up, because then he is press-resistant, very good on the ball, plays line-breaking passes, and he's got a phenomenal range of passing with regards to how then he does look to stretch play and look then to play those 30-40 yard balls, where at times he can look to switch play, at times he can look to play a dodge pass over the opposition defense. And we do know that he is right-footed, but as much as he's right-footed, he plays as a left-sided centre-back, very comfortable, because then he can use his left foot as well within those tight pockets of space under pressure. When you do move on then right along, you do then have Rian Hanamub at left back. So when you have a look at Hanamub, this is a player then who I think has been doing very well for this Amazulu side. Quite key then with regards to offering the width within the left wide channel for Amazulu. Also has very good technical ability with regards to the types of deliveries he's able then to put into the box. Also quite quick as well. So when you do have a look at it then, Hanamu becomes quite key with regards to offering the width for this Amazulu side, especially considering then that when you do have a look at the front three, which is what we'll touch on, all three of them are strikers, and they they're quite the narrow front three and quite fluid, and they do interchange positions. So Hanamu then becomes quite key with regards to offering the width on the left-hand side. When you do then move on then right along within the heart of midfield, they do have Mahaula, who does then play as the defensive midfielder, very good at breaking down opposition attacks and opposition play. Also quite key then with regards to how he offers that tactical awareness within the heart of midfield, and how then he looks to protect his back four. When you have a look at the 2-8s, you've got Malega, who starts within the right-sided half space. You do then have Keegan Buchanan, who starts within the left-sided half space. So when you do have a look at Keegan Buchanan, he does act pretty much as a deep lane playmaker for this Amazulu side. Quite key in build-up phase as well, how then he does look to take the ball within these deep pockets of space where then they are looking to build up. Does offer you that half space occupation with regards to build up. A player then who's got a phenomenal range of passing, can stretch play with those diagonal balls. Also then does also play from time to time those dodge passes in behind the opposition defense. Another thing that we've seen then with him is that he's improved with regards to taking shots from range, and he's been able to get a couple on target as well. Quite key then when it comes to set pieces, because he does deliver quality balls into the box. And then when you do then move on then right along and have a look at the front three. So I did mention that the front three is quite fluid, and they do tend to interchange a lot. So you do have three strikers. So you do then have Mtuli, you've got Quem, and then you've got Gabadinho Mhango. So when you do have a look at it then, that is their front three. And when you look at them then, they've done very well for this Amazulu side with regards then to being able to ensure that they're a threat within the opposition box. As we've seen that Quem and Mhango have scored quite a number of goals already for this Amazulu side. And also then whenever they do find themselves sitting deep, they become quite key with regards to the offensive transitions and looking then to hit the opposition with counter attacks. Especially then when you do have a look at Mhango. When you look at Mhango, this is their key player then, because this is a player then who scores so many goals for this Amazulu side, but he's also quite creative then with regards to how then he looks to play those penetrative passes within the final third. Against Cape Town City, we did see him play a lovely ball into Quem, where Quem was able to turn and finish as well. When you look at Mhango then, this is a player then who tends to drift for this Amazulu side, so you can see him coming off the right-hand side. You can see him being the central striker as well. So they do interchange with regards then to their positioning for this Amazulu side up front. Also Quem then with regards to how he looks to hold the ball up and how then they are also able to get in behind. So what then deceives a lot of teams is that because Quem and Nduli are very big with regards to their stature, many people do tend to think that big players aren't the quickest, but in behind, their movement in behind is quite good, and they are at times deceptively quick with regards to getting that ball in behind. But we do know that Mhango is quite the complete forward then with regards to the types of finish, because he can score left foot, right foot, headers. Very, very dangerous player for this Amazulu side. Then, like I did mention, you also do have Sikakane. So when you do have a look at it then with regards to the offensive scheme, so because they have a three-man midfield, sometimes what you do see from Amazulu is that they are able to push both wing backs high and wide. That still ensures that they've got 5 men behind the ball with regards to their rest defense, with regards to them preparing then for opposition counter attack. And sometimes what you will see is that when ball side fullback has it, the other fullback would be looking to tuck in and become a third centre back. That's when then you'd see one of the midfielders looking to add numbers. Then it goes to a 3-2-5 offensive scheme. So with this Amazulu side then, they've been doing very well. They're quite dynamic, and they've been able to score the goals, and they've played good football in certain periods of the game, and a side then that has very experienced players as well. So when you do have a look at Kaizer Chiefs then, we do know that they do have a couple of players who can always come off the bench and impact the game. You do have Nkosimpile Ngobo, who can always come off the bench. You do have Mahlatsi, who can look to come off the bench and impact the game. There is Mdu Shabalala as well. When you do have a look at Amazulu, they do have Ethan Brooks, who can come off the bench. They do have Dumisani Zuma as well, who can look to come off the bench as well. However, one thing then that I'd like to point out, because both teams do use a very similar system, and what you will see, and the picture that you will see a lot of the times, is that what you do see then, let's just drop Amazulu with regards to their defensive block. So what you do see a lot of the times with this Amazulu side is that there is a lot of the times, because they play with 3 strikers up front, and they're not naturally inclined to tracking back with regards to the fullback. So what you will see a lot of the times is that there will be this space that Kaizer Chiefs can look to exploit, especially then when the 2 strikers don't track back. So there will be that space that they could look to exploit. That's where then Shanti becomes key. Whenever then Sikhota has looked to invert and tuck into the half space on the right-hand side, that is where Solomon's becomes key. Whenever then Dupree has looked to invert and tuck in, at times you could see 2v1 situations where they can look to exploit from the wide areas. So that is quite key then with regards to a picture that you could potentially see against Amazulu. And yeah, so when you do look at it, ladies and gentlemen, it is Kaizer Chiefs versus Amazulu, and quite an interesting encounter. Do let me know at home who wins this one. Who do you think is a key player coming up into this encounter? Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. Signing out.